My name's Alex LaRue, and I've been a supporter and a participant in the Lincoln Museum since the very beginning. I think I was the third person to know about this idea when it happened. My wife, Alex LaRue, was the LaRue County Chamber executive back in the late 80s, and a lady came down from Springfield, Illinois, wanting to know if we would like to buy the Lincoln Museum she had inherited from her father. And so Iris rounded up a group of interested community people, and within 2 weeks they'd raised $20,000 to complete the purchase of this Lincoln Museum from Springfield, Illinois. And so they took a motorhome and a truck or two and went to Illinois and brought it all back. It was really interesting watching them unload all those wax figures from the motorhome. People in this little old town had never seen anything like that before, you know, as this is a little town. A lot of people thought we couldn't do it, but there were quite a few who thought we could. And just so happened at that time, the Markham family, who operated a dry goods store for years and years in this building, decided they were going to retire and shut their business down and sell the building to the Lincoln Museum. So quite quickly, the Lincoln Museum Volunteer Group became the board of directors, and they purchased the building. So we've gone from raising $20,000 quickly to being in debt to buy a building. And then I think there were some personal signatures on the note too, guaranteeing it. Anyway, this community has a vast amount of resources that people don't really realize until you call out for help. There was a request for volunteers, and immediately a local architect stepped up to help do the design work. And once the design was roughed out, a call went out for volunteers to build the 12 dioramas that depict the life of Lincoln from birth to death. And I'll admit that props that came with the wax figures from Illinois were severely lacking. So our local volunteers decided that wouldn't do for a good museum here in Hodgenville. So they built probably the best museum in Kentucky. And it's been dubbed the Kentucky Lincoln Museum by the state. It's been voted best museum in the state by the readers of Kentucky Living magazine a number of times. And it's definitely worth a visit because it's very well done. You won't find anything much better than this in Kentucky. And like I said, I was involved from the beginning. I didn't do any design work. I drove a few nails, hauled a few 2x4s around, things like that. Went and got drinks a time or two, you know, Cokes or Pepsis, you know, we were dry at that time. Anyway, this thing went together, it happened, and it's been built. And after it opened, the celebration kind of quieted down a little bit because all the fun was over. You know, we'd already finished building. Now it was time for the visitors to show up and do their thing, which they started slowly. And there were a lot of people who didn't think this museum would succeed. However, we're celebrating the 33rd anniversary this year, and the last couple of years have been kind of rough with the pandemic, but we've gotten through it. And I can say, when I say we've gotten through it, my wife and her crew have brought the museum through it. The board of directors and a number of other volunteers, which I'm just the handyman / runner whenever they need a volunteer, you know, that I get called on, which I don't mind a bit. I enjoy it thoroughly. The museum is, as I see it, is a catalyst for the redevelopment of the downtown district here, which we have a beautiful downtown. A couple of statues out on the center island. In 2008, the entire town square was redone from top to bottom in preparation for the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birthday. And it is a beautiful place, very well laid out. All we need is just to fill a few more buildings, which we're working on that. There are plans in place right now. Things are going to happen. But the museum is going to be a catalyst for revitalizing our downtown. And I look forward to having it here for years to come. Highly recommend it to anybody who is remotely interested in Abraham Lincoln or history, the history of the United States, especially in this area. There were more than enough volunteers to handle all the jobs. More than enough. We're gifted with an amazing number of artisans who built this cabin inside the building. There was a lady who owned an antique business who built the country store inside here. There's just any number of people who did amazing work creating the dioramas, and they were given pretty much free rein to design it and fill it. Of course, there was some review and a little bit of oversight, but Most of the oversight consisted of scaling it back just a hair, because some of them were really keen on overbuilding. But what we've ended up with is a beautiful museum, very informative. It's a lot more than just wax figures. There's so much history in this building. They need to expand. As a matter of fact, they owned another building next door, which hopefully someday they will expand into. I'm sure they already need to expand. They've been gifted with a number of collections and artifacts and memorabilia over the years. I know the back rooms are full. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but hopefully one day they will be able to do another expansion. And by another expansion, I mean in 2000, this original building was doubled in size with the addition of the building to my right, where the gift shop is now. I might mention that these are old buildings. They're all over 100 years old, and anyone who's ever maintained a 100-year-old building knows that there's a whole lot going into maintaining them, keeping them up to, I guess you could say, visitor standards. There's a lot of old plumbing and lighting that has to be addressed regularly. Well, as I mentioned, I was here in the beginning, and I'm proud to be here 33 years later, knowing that the museum has survived a number of challenges and has faced them and moved on, doing well. Hopefully they can continue for another 33 years or more to preserve and present the life of Abraham Lincoln, probably the greatest president we've ever had to date, and who knows, maybe forever. Another fact about this museum is that it's a lot more than just a museum. It's also a testament to the spirit of this community. And there's a plaque behind the registration desk with the names of hundreds of individuals, families, businesses, and nonprofits that help contribute. I would love for visitors to take away an in-depth appreciation for the life of Abraham Lincoln and everything he endured from his birth here at the Sinking Spring Farm to his childhood at the boyhood home, where he sat on the front steps or maybe played in the field and watched the slaves being marched down the Cumberland Road. He was age 8 or so when he left here, so we kind of think that his values, his life values, were built here by this community, the people who were here at the time, their strength, their honesty, their vitality, etc. And it's all depicted in the dioramas that are here in this building that depict his life from birth to death, as well as all the materials on the wall, the prints, the art, the writings, the documents, the memorabilia that's in this building. This building is loaded with history, and it's here for you to view. Hopefully you'll enjoy it and learn something before you leave. I just love to thank all the people who had a hand in this museum, and hopefully we can create some other projects around here as an additional testament to the community spirit that built this museum, because that spirit still lives. And that's all I've got today.